I'm Judy Ellis, and I am retired as past CEO of First Step. First Step is a private nonprofit organization that began as a result of tremendous need. Victims of domestic violence had nowhere to go, and later sexual assault survivors. So we provide a wide range of services from 24-hour crisis line to individual counseling to court advocacy to working with members of the community providing education, transitional housing and shelter, and other services over the last 40 years. I have the utmost respect for the folks that have worked for First Step over these last 40 years. They persevered under the most incredible of circumstances, hearing stories that no one should have to hear, no one should have to witness, that should never happen. They've worked many a day and night tirelessly, sometimes very tired. They helped open buildings, they got up in the middle of the night. This is not a job to them. This is a mission. Well, way back in 1978, a group of concerned citizens developed a task force to look at the issue of domestic violence in the community. They were people of all different backgrounds. There was clergy, lawyers, all kinds of folks. They came together and determined that there was a big problem and no one was addressing it. So they were able to, with the help of, I think, State Representative Justine Barnes at the time, get some space in the back of the Dorsey Center. And that's how they started. They found a young woman named Debbie Benjamin, a social worker, who just graduated from college, and they began to put together a team and a board of directors, and that's where we got our start, with the help of federal dollars passed through Westland. It was interesting times. Again, we needed to determine the need, and even as we were working, the team was working, the phone started to ring. And at the time, they were reaching out to all different organizations in the community, from the police department to the courts to schools, to find out what the incident of domestic violence was. And at that time, it was interesting because social workers and police officers and the court systems all were not working together. They were kind of working against each other. And at the time, it felt like everybody was working for a different reason. And so it was difficult. I will say it was difficult. But as we began to know each other and trust each other, we began to look for ways that we could make change working together, because basically we were working for assisting those people who were experiencing violence. In those days, it was before victim rights. So if a woman was beaten on the street by a stranger, she would be protected, and that perpetrator would be held accountable. If she lived in a home and the police officers came to the house and she said that there was violence, and clearly there were bruises or other cuts, kinds of things, there was no law that allowed them, because they hadn't seen it, to arrest. So the women were in a very difficult position. If they told what happened, they knew they would be in more trouble. And so there was a conspiracy of silence, and they knew that if they told what happened to them, that they would be in more trouble. So the circumstances of the times, without any kind of support, the women would always stay and often experience more violence. The first building, of course, was the small space in Westland. Then we moved to Nanka Mills Nature Center. Again, historic house. We tended to get buildings that no one wanted, but that was okay. We were thrilled to have them. Then we were able to get some space for our first shelter in Plymouth, in a mental health complex. Again, the oldest and most decrepit building. It had 20 beds all in one room, and so if one child woke up, they would all wake up. After that, that building then became part of the complex that was being closed down, and we needed to find another site. We were able to find a spot, 10 acres in Canton, again, a very old, decrepit building. We did have to purchase that building. That was our first major purchase. And it was a former nursing home. We were able to work with that building for a number of years, probably 20 years at least. And after that, we had to shut that down because there was no fixing it. So we then began the process in the worst economy ever of holding a capital drive to build a building that would be lasting and that would meet the needs of the families that we served. And it became a model in Michigan and perhaps the country, unlike anything I've seen even to this date in Michigan. The circumstances around our new building were really quite incredible. So we needed to move people temporarily to a short-term location, and then we needed to find a way to raise $6 million in an economy that was the worst that we had seen in many, many years. We were reaching out to everyone we knew, looking for grant sources, looking for folks that would help us. It was truly an emergency, and people rallied, and notably a group called CREW, which is Commercial Real Estate Women, came to meet with some of us and wanted to get involved and wanted to help, and they drew together these tremendous resources that they had. They worked in commercial real estate, they knew lots of people, and so we started a three-pronged approach. One was maintain the agency and the funding, again, in the most difficult times to run our programs. Another was to develop and raise the funds we needed, and the other was to develop a building, research and develop a building that would be representative of what we believed in, that the families would have a safe, beautiful environment in which to heal. With the help of CREW, they had designers involved, their real estate professionals. Marilyn Nix was one of them. Many, again, I would be hard-pressed to name them all, but they came together over a period of years to help us put together a state-of-the-art building of which we are very proud. So the board members over the years, and there have been hundreds, literally hundreds of board members, basically good human beings, people that want to make a difference, people who gave of their time and their talents and their treasures. We've had, starting way back in the beginning, we had Judge Gail McKnight, you had Bev McAllister, who many of these volunteers, and I can't remember them all, there's so many and they're so wonderful, I wish I could name them all. Most recently, Carla O'Malley, the LaFave families have been very active. Karen Wilson Smithbauer, a tremendous donor and supporter throughout the years. Many of the board members have been a part of the agency for upwards of 20, 30 years. So they never gave up, and they lent their talents and of course their contributions and made the agency strong. It's been an honor and a privilege to have witnessed the stories of countless of thousands of families who have experienced violence and have made it to the other side. I've been honored and privileged to work with the people who have given of their time and their talents and their energies. I am humbled, and I have the deepest respect for each and every one of you who have made this world a better, safer place. Happy anniversary, First Step. Congratulations, and thank you for all you do.